Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today, we're going to be looking at how to teach like the Savior.
A really fascinating topic.
And our jumping off point is a talk from the April 2021 General Conference.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. Teaching in the Savior's Way
Right.
by Brother Jan E. Newman.
That's the one.
It's a great talk.
It is, and one of the things that really stood out to me was this anecdote about a kindergarten teacher.
Oh yeah, Sister Davis.
Sister Davis.
Her story is so inspiring and really shows you that impactful teaching can happen anywhere.
Exactly. And you wouldn't think a kindergarten class would be the place to go for, like, amazing teaching insights, right?
Yep, but it's true. It's all about those small moments.
Because Brother Newman talks about how she used simple things like milk and graham crackers and rest time
Right?
to teach these really important lessons about kindness and taking care of ourselves.
And it wasn't just about the snacks and the naps. She was very intentional.
Oh, totally.
She used those everyday activities to create this loving and supportive environment where her students felt safe and valued.
And that's such a good point because, it makes you realize that these teaching moments are everywhere. They're not just in a formal classroom setting.
Absolutely. And it makes me think about a teacher that I had that really made a difference for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had this amazing professor in college. He had that same gift of creating a nurturing environment where learning could flourish.
I had a similar experience, actually, in college. There was this teacher at Rick's College, Brother Hammond, and he taught a missionary prep class that was just, like, transformative.
Wow. What was it about his teaching that was so impactful?
He had this incredible ability to connect with every single student. And you could just tell that he genuinely loved the Lord. And that just shone through in everything he did. He taught doctrine, of course.
Yeah.
But he also encouraged us to ask tough questions, to really wrestle with our testimonies and own them.
It sounds like he understood that true conversion can't be forced. It has to come from within.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really crucial point in Brother Newman's talk. He talks about the Book of Mormon account of Christ's visit to the Americas.
Oh, yeah. Powerful example.
You remember how it describes a society where everyone was converted to the Lord, and there were no contentions, no disputes.
Can you imagine? What a beautiful vision.
It really is. And it makes you think, how can we cultivate that kind of unity and conversion today?
A good question.
Well, thankfully, Brother Newman offers some guidance.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I hope he gives us some tips.
He gives us 3 key suggestions for teaching more like the Savior. The first one's pretty straightforward. Emulate the Savior.
Okay, but that's easier said than done, right? It's more than just like reading scriptures about Jesus' teaching.
Right.
It's about really diving deep, studying his methods, his interactions, his tone, everything. How did he adapt his approach to different people and situations? It's about understanding the nuances of his teaching.
Such a good point. And there are some really great resources available to help us do that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the Teaching in the Savior's Way section on the Gospel Library app is a great place to start.
Oh, yeah. I love that section.
And also churchofjesuschrist.org. They offer some really great insights and examples that can help us apply this Savior's teaching methods to our own lives.
Okay, so emulate the Savior. What's the second suggestion?
The second suggestion focuses on families. It's all about making home-centered, church-supported gospel learning a priority. You were talking earlier about your friend's family and how they did Come Follow Me discussions over Zoom.
Oh, yeah, I forgot I mentioned them. So Come Follow Me, it's a program that the church implemented a few years ago to encourage families to study the scriptures together at home. And my friend's family started doing their Come Follow Me discussions over Zoom during the pandemic. And it was a total game changer for them, especially for their teenage daughter.
I bet. Teenagers and scriptures, not always a winning combination.
I know, right. But, before that, she hadn't really engaged with the scriptures at all.
Really?
Yeah. But these family discussions created a safe space for her to share her thoughts and ask questions. And it really sparked her interest in the Book of Mormon, which was amazing to see.
That is really cool. It reminds me of what President Nelson said when he first introduced Come Follow Me. He promised that it would unleash the power of families and create sanctuaries of faith in our homes.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. It's about making the gospel part of our everyday lives, not just something we do on Sundays.
Yeah, weaving it into the fabric of our families and our homes.
I love that. Okay, so we've got emulate the Savior and unleash the power of families. What's the third suggestion?
So the third suggestion is all about remembering that conversion is a deeply personal thing.
Right.
We can't force it on anyone.
Yeah.
But we can create an environment where it's more likely to happen, kind of like in the parable of the 10 virgins.
Oh, good point. Remember, they couldn't share their oil. Each one needed her own supply to be ready for the bridegroom.
Exactly. That parable is a great reminder that spiritual preparation is an individual journey. We can't rely on someone else's testimony. We each have to develop our own connection with the divine.
Brother Newman also uses this other analogy in his talk that I found really helpful. He talks about helping a seed grow. We can provide the right soil, the sunlight, the water,
Right, you do everything you can to create the right conditions.
but ultimately, that seed needs to take root and grow on its own.
Yeah, we can't force it. We can only nurture it.
So how do we create that fertile ground for spiritual growth? What does that even look like?
That is the question, isn't it? And I think there are a lot of different answers. But one thing's for sure, we need to provide opportunities for people to have authentic spiritual experiences.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Remember that time we talked about playing golf at St. Andrews in Scotland?
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite deep dives.
You could describe St. Andrews all day long. You could talk about its beauty, its history, but you can't really grasp its essence without actually being there. You have to experience it firsthand.
And you're saying that conversion is kind of like that? You can't just tell someone about it. They have to experience it for themselves.
Exactly. It's a personal journey of discovery, and that journey often involves asking tough questions, grappling with doubts, seeking answers through prayerful study. It's not always easy or comfortable, but it's in those moments of struggle that we often experience the most profound growth.
You know, that makes me think about those aha moments we've talked about before. You know, those times when the spirit just clicks and someone gains a new understanding or perspective that really resonates with them? Those are the moments that change hearts and lives.
Absolutely. And they often come when we're least expecting them, when we're open to the promptings of the Spirit and willing to let go of our own preconceived notions.
So it sounds like creating space for those aha moments is crucial for spiritual growth. It's not just about providing information, but fostering an environment where people can explore, discover, and come to their own understanding.
Exactly. And that takes us back to something really important that Brother Newman emphasized in his talk.
It's call to action.
Yeah, where he urged everyone, leaders, teachers, parents, youth, to work together to elevate teaching at all levels of the church.
Because we all have a role to play.
It's a reminder that we all have something to contribute to creating those environments where genuine learning and conversion can thrive.
And that starts with each of us individually seeking to understand and apply the Savior's teaching methods in our own lives.
A lifelong journey.
It really is. And this is just the beginning of our deep dive into teaching like the Savior. There's so much more to unpack.
So we're talking about elevating teaching in the church,
Mhm.
and, I think that involves so much more than just standing up and delivering information.
Right, like what else is there?
It's about fostering an environment of open discussion, inviting questions and encouraging people to really think deeply about what they're learning.
Like a true back and forth, not just a lecture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it requires a lot of humility on the part of the teacher. You have to be willing to listen and learn from others.
And to recognize that we don't have all the answers.
Totally. I mean, none of us do. It's not about being the sage on the stage,
Yeah.
the one with all the knowledge.
So what is it about then?
It's more like being a guide on the side, walking alongside people on their journey of discovery.
I love that. Guide on the side.
And it really requires relying on the Spirit, both for the teacher and the learner.
That's so true. And it makes me think about something else Brother Newman said about personal study.
You mean how it's so important for effective teaching?
Exactly. He really emphasizes that. It's not enough to just rely on the manuals or pre-prepared lessons. We have to be actively engaged in learning ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. Our own connection with the Scriptures and the teachings of the prophets.
It totally informs and enriches our ability to teach others.
If we're not learning and growing ourselves, how can we inspire others to do the same, right?
Yeah.
It's about authenticity, When we share what we've personally learned and experienced, our teaching has this weight, this sincerity that resonates with others.
It's true. There's just something different about it, isn't there?
Definitely. And that's why revelation is so important for teaching. You need to be constantly seeking guidance from the Spirit.
Letting it work in your life.
Yeah, letting it illuminate your mind and your heart so you can share those insights with others.
It makes me think about my experience with Brother Hammond again.
Oh, yeah. What about it?
His class wasn't just about, memorizing the missionary discussions. It was about really understanding the gospel and developing our testimonies. He really pushed us to go beyond the surface, to really wrestle with doctrine.
It sounds like he really created a space where it was okay to ask tough questions.
He did, to express doubts and then to seek answers together.
That's something I really admire about the Savior's teaching. He wasn't afraid to tackle difficult topics.
No. And he didn't pretend to have all the answers.
He was willing to be vulnerable, to admit when he didn't know something, and to seek truth alongside those he was teaching.
And sometimes the most powerful learning experiences come from those moments when we wrestle with challenging concepts, right?
Absolutely. Think about Joseph Smith's first vision. He didn't get an answer right away. He had to go through a period of intense searching and struggle.
Oh, that's such a good point. And it reminds me of that analogy about the seed pushing through the soil.
Right. It takes effort and sometimes even a little bit of pain to break through and grow.
And I think that's something we can apply to our teaching. We can't be afraid to get a little messy, to really dig deep and explore those challenging questions with the people we're teaching.
Exactly. And that brings us back to Brother Newman's main point about teaching like the Savior. It's not just about imparting knowledge or skills.
It's about something deeper, isn't it?
It's about helping people come to Christ. That's the heart of it all.
And it's a powerful reminder for all of us, no matter how we're serving.
Think about the Savior's interactions during his ministry. He wasn't just lecturing people. He was meeting them where they were at.
He was teaching them through love and compassion.
He was inviting them to follow him, to experience his love and his grace firsthand.
And that's what we're trying to do too, isn't it, as we strive to teach like the Savior?
Exactly. And it's not just limited to formal settings like church.
Oh, you're so right. It's about how we live our lives every day.
It's about the way we interact with our families, our friends, our coworkers, everyone we come in contact with.
It's about looking for opportunities to share light and hope and encouragement.
And sometimes those small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect. They can touch people's lives in ways we can't even imagine.
Because it's not always about big, dramatic gestures.
Sometimes the most powerful teaching moments happen in those quiet, everyday interactions.
When we simply show up and try to be a little more like the Savior.
Yeah, and we let him work through us. And that could be hard, especially when we feel inadequate or unprepared.
Oh, totally. But that's when we need to remember that it's not about us.
It's about relying on the Spirit to guide us and magnify our efforts.
This whole conversation has really highlighted something important for me. It's not just about becoming better teachers.
It's about becoming more like the Savior.
In all aspects of our lives.
Yes. And that's a journey that's filled with challenges and rewards. It's about growth and joy.
And it makes me think about that question Brother Newman asked in his talk. The one about asking the Savior a question.
Oh, I love that part.
Yeah.
What would you ask him if you could?
It's such a powerful invitation to really personalize these principles and internalize them. It's a question that makes you think.
It really does.
So if you could ask the Savior one question about teaching, what would it be?
Oh, there's so many things I'd want to ask him. But I think if I had to choose just one, it would be about understanding the hearts of the people I'm teaching.
Yeah.
How can I better connect with their individual needs and experiences and help them feel seen and understood?
That's a beautiful question. It really speaks to your desire to minister to others.
What about you? What would you ask?
I think mine would be about those aha moments. Those times when the Spirit just clicks and someone has this amazing realization that really changes them.
Oh, yeah. Those moments are so special.
They're like glimpses of eternity where truth just becomes real. And I think they often come when we least expect them.
When we're open to the promptings of the Spirit and we're willing to let go of our own ideas about how things should be.
And just let the Spirit work.
And I think that's something we can all strive for, no matter what our role is or how much experience we have.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about the importance of personal study.
Yeah.
And creating those safe spaces where questions and doubts are welcome.
And how the ultimate goal of teaching is to help people come closer to Christ.
And we've touched on the idea that teaching like the Savior isn't just about these formal settings or lessons, right? It's really a way of life.
A way of being. A way of interacting with the world.
It's about reflecting his love and compassion.
And meeting people where they are and inviting them to follow him.
And it's a journey that's full of challenges and rewards, growth and joy.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into teaching like the Savior,
it really feels like we've done some deep thinking together.
It's one of those topics that you could just talk about forever.
It really is, because there's always something more to learn.
Absolutely. And it's not like you can just check it off your list.
Right. It's not like, okay, I've mastered teaching like the Savior, I'm done.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lifelong process.
But a lifelong journey of learning and refining and trying to improve.
And it's a journey that involves our minds and our hearts and our spirits.
It really does engage every part of you. And I'm reminded of Brother Newman's call to action at the end of his talk.
Oh, yeah, where he urges everyone to work together.
Yeah, to really elevate teaching at every level of the church.
Leaders, teachers, parents, youth, everyone has a part to play.
I love that. It's such a beautiful invitation to come together.
It really emphasizes that we all have something to contribute.
And that we can learn from each other no matter our age or experience or calling.
Absolutely. So I think as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I just want to encourage you, dear listener,
To think about what we've talked about.
and how you can apply these principles to your own life.
Because whether you're a seasoned teacher or just starting out,
There are always opportunities to learn and grow.
and to become more like the Savior in the way that we teach.
And remember, it's not about perfection.
It's about progress.
It's about that striving, that effort to become more like Christ.
in everything we do.
And as we do
Not
that,
only will we bless the lives of others,
but I think we'll also experience incredible growth and joy in our own lives.
it's really a beautiful promise.
So keep seeking, keep learning,
Keep teaching like the Savior.
and may His grace and wisdom guide you always.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Until next time.